Have you ever set a really clear goal, a target you absolutely have to hit, only to find that something inside your own head is getting in the way? You know what you need to do, but your mind, it just resists. Well, today we're going to dive into exactly why that happens, and more importantly, how you can actually overcome it.
All right, let's jump right in with a question that might sound a little out there at first. What could possibly connect the world of competitive skeet shooting with, say, high-stakes business negotiations? The answer, it turns out, is surprisingly simple and incredibly powerful.
And this picture, it just nails it. Both of these things, shooting and business, they demand that you process a ton of changing information, make a critical call, and then act on it in a split second, all while you're under some serious pressure. This is what makes the shooting range, believe it or not, a perfect model for understanding how our minds work when everything is on the line.
So let's break this down. We're going to use this really cool analogy to see exactly how the mental game of shooting translates directly to hitting your targets in the business world.
I mean, just look at this. The parallels are so clear. That flying target, that's your constantly changing market. Its speed and trajectory, yeah, those are your deadlines and time constraints. The different ways you can shoot, those are your different approaches for different clients. But here's the real takeaway. In both worlds, you're always dealing with moving targets. What worked a second ago might not work now, and the outcome is always black and white. It's a hit or a miss, a deal or a failure.
Okay, so if the goal is always to hit the target, what's stopping us? Well, a lot of the time, it comes down to this really powerful mental trap, something that holds us back without us even realizing it's there. Let's talk about this thing called professional deformation.
So what in the world is professional deformation? Just think of it like this. It's your brain's favorite, most comfortable tool. It's the skill set you've already mastered, your mental comfort zone. And because it's so easy and familiar, your brain tries to use that one tool for every single job, even when it's totally the wrong one for the task.
And it's so important to get this. This isn't some kind of character flaw. It's just a fundamental human tendency. Our minds are literally built to find balance and stability. So this pull towards what we already know, it's just a natural protective instinct.
We all have what you could call a stable plane. It's that set of skills where we feel totally confident and in control. So if you're a mathematician, your stable plane is logic. You'll instinctively try to solve every problem with a formula. If you're an artist, you see everything through composition and color. Your mind will always try to drag any new problem back onto the field where you've got the home team advantage.
So what happens when you try a new way of doing things and it fails? You miss the target. The business deal falls apart. Well, this is exactly what happens. Your mind slams on the panic button. It performs a rollback. It immediately scrambles back to its comfort zone, right back to that center of professional deformation. It doubles down on the old habits, precisely at the moment you need to be learning new ones.
Okay, so we know our mind has this default setting, but why is it so actively resistant? Why does it fight us so hard when we try to learn something new or push for a really challenging goal?
The reasons are actually pretty simple, almost primitive. Your mind is designed to be lazy. Its main job is to conserve energy. It absolutely hates new variables and gets totally overwhelmed by multitasking. If a task looks too complicated or if the goal seems too far away, it'll just quit. It just refuses to engage. And here's the kicker. You can't just tell it you must do this. That command just doesn't register.
So here's the bottom line. Your mind is basically a protection machine. It will always, every time, choose the safety and low energy cost of saying, I can't do that, over the massive effort it takes to ask, okay, so how can I do that?
This whole thing leads us to a really interesting, kind of weird paradox when it comes to learning. You know, we all assume that the best person to learn from is the absolute master of a skill. But a lot of the time, that's just not the case at all.
Just look at this comparison. A master, the expert, often does what they do automatically. It's totally unconscious. They literally can't explain how they do it. They just do it. A mentor, on the other hand, has a completely separate skill. They can deconstruct that whole process and break it down into simple, understandable steps for someone new. Being able to do something and being able to teach it are two completely, catastrophically different abilities.
And that brings us to a frustration that I think we've all felt. When you're trying to get better at something all on your own, why does it take so long to see any real progress?
Well, here's the blunt truth. When you're learning without a mentor, without that outside feedback, you're not really learning a new skill.
You are just practicing your own misconceptions. You're getting better and better at reinforcing your own professional deformation, basically digging yourself deeper and deeper into the very habits that are holding you back. So, how do we break out of this cycle? How do we finally move from just understanding the theory to getting actual tangible results? All right, let's get into the practical toolkit for rewiring your whole approach. Here it is. This is your actionable path forward. First, you have to deconstruct the skill. Break it down into a simple, clear model. Then prioritize. Don't try to learn everything at once. Find the 3 key things that drive most of the results. Next, practice with good, quality exercises to build a new automatic response. Now, when you fail, and you will fail, you have to analyze. Ask yourself, why did I miss? Don't just say, oh, I did my best. And finally, and this might be the most important part, eliminate your misconceptions first. The faster you can get rid of your bad ideas, the faster you will actually learn.
This simple triangle right here really sums it all up beautifully. Effective learning, it turns out, needs 3 things. First, you need a crystal clear image of the goal, what the end result is supposed to look like. Second, you need to understand the mechanics, how it all actually works. And third, you need a gradual, step-by-step plan that'll get you there.
And here is a fantastic practical tip you can use right away. For all those tasks you hate, the ones your mind resists the most, reframe them. Don't think of it as, ugh, I have to do that awful report. Think of it as a training exercise in concise communication. It sounds simple, but that little mental shift can turn a source of major resistance into a structured way to grow.
Ultimately, what this all comes down to is a pretty startling conclusion. Your mind's resistance is often totally irrational. So to get it to do what you actually want, you can't reason with it. You have to trick it. You have to use structured systems, models, and exercises to just bypass its lazy protective instincts and build new pathways to success.
And that leaves us with one final question for you to think about. After seeing how all these mechanisms work, take a second to think about your own goals. Right now, is your mind working as your greatest asset, pushing you toward your targets? Or has it maybe become your greatest saboteur, always pulling you back into the comfort of what you already know? The choice, and the power to change it, is yours.